What's going on, guys? Mai Tai here. It's pumpkin season. Can I get an amen? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. It is absolutely 100% officially fall. Hashtag basic season. And I know my fellow Canadians have already started feeling a lot more of that cooler weather coming their way. And to be honest, Texas has definitely cooled down just a tad bit. We're hitting about the mid to high 70s. So you know what, I can't complain. But there's nothing more awesome than fall coming around because you know the holidays are just around the corner. And you can't forget the smell of cinnamon and nutmeg and cloves, pumpkin, and everything orange. Then again, if you've ever lived in cold weather and have had your hair in your nostrils freeze into tiny icicles and have had to shovel snow in 0-degree temps, hashtag basic season just might turn into hashtag oh shit season. Either way, our anabolics knows no bounds. So to start things off on the right foot, we're gonna take on FDL's pumpkin muffin recipe. It's time to have some fun. Let's go. So guys, in terms of ingredients, we're gonna go ahead and start this off with a whey and casein mix, 75 grams. The ingredient list recommends vanilla. We're gonna go ahead and use a snickerdoodle. So the next ingredient is gonna be 30 grams of a peanut butter powder. Now, the recipe actually recommends you use 30 grams of a pumpkin pie cookie butter protein mix, and that's specifically sold by FDL. Now, for this specific recipe, we're gonna go ahead and modify it just a little bit and use the 30 grams of peanut butter powder. So next up, we've got 10 grams of a low-calorie sweetener. Now, to be honest, I'm gonna go ahead and use probably only a couple grams of the low-calorie sweetener. I think there's plenty of sweetener within the actual whey and casein protein to give us a good kick of sweetness. You guys feel free to use how much you prefer. Next up, we're gonna use 10 grams of a baking powder. Guys, next up, we're gonna go ahead and use 450 grams of a pure pumpkin mix. Now, Libby's is actually one of my favorites. Just the taste and the consistency is just one of my favorites. So we're gonna go ahead and use 2 of these cans. Now, one can is actually 425 grams, so we're only just gonna use a partial amount on the second can. But just in case you guys are looking, it's gonna require actually 2 cans. Next up, we'll go ahead and use 150 grams of a non-fat plain Greek yogurt. Now we've got 150 grams of pure egg whites. And then lastly, we've got 30 grams of chocolate chips. Now the recipe actually recommends using white chocolate chips, but hey, this is what we're working with today. So really what we're trying to do here, guys, is really minimizing the amount of clumps once we start pouring in any of the wet ingredients, so that way the mixture is just as smooth as possible. So guys, all I'm doing right now is really just mixing everything together. But after this, we're gonna go ahead and let this sit. The recipe says to let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes just to thicken up.
A few moments later.
Just in case, I'm gonna go ahead and link the video to this actual recipe in the description in case you guys wanna actually reference it. But in the video, it doesn't look like he actually waits 15 to 20 minutes while he's putting everything together. But in the description, the ingredients and the recipe list is all there and states to wait it out for 15 to 20 minutes so that the batter will actually thicken up. But next step, we're gonna go ahead and take our silicone muffin cups, place 6 of them down since this recipe is actually made for 6. So just as an FYI, guys, the recipe originally stated 6 muffins. I'm assuming that his silicone muffin holders were actually pretty large, because right now there's no way that I would have been able to just do 6 muffins here. So we've got 12 muffins here. We're gonna go ahead and throw this into the oven at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. Whew, That's hot. So guys, the muffins are out of the oven. We're gonna go ahead and let them cool for a little bit. I don't have a cooling rack, so we're just gonna let them sit. I'll probably take them out of the actual silicone holders, but they are smelling absolutely delicious. I do kind of want to show you real quick. They do have a little bit of a crust on top. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a little bit of a firm crust on top, so it should be interesting how this all turns out. Welcome back, guys. The muffins have been sitting out for a good minute. I'd say roughly about 30 to 40 minutes, so they should be ready to go. But without further ado, let's get into the 3 categories: anabolics, taste, and craving. So first things first, right? We're getting into the anabolics. I want to take you through the total calories and the macro breakdown and what that whole picture looks like. And just as a reminder, guys, as I stated in the beginning of this video, the recipe is tweaked just a little bit because the original recipe actually requires a protein cookie butter that you'd purchase through FDL's website. And what I did was essentially replace that with 30 grams of a peanut butter powder. So if you're looking at the total calories and the macro breakdown of these pumpkin muffins that I've made, you'll notice that there is a slight variation due to the actual peanut butter protein powder mix. So in terms of total calories, we're dealing with 1,098 total calories for 12 muffins. In terms of the macro breakdown, that's 18 grams of fat, 126 grams of protein, and 108 grams of carbs. Now for each muffin, in terms of total calories and macro breakdown, we're looking at a total of 91.5 calories, 1.5 grams of fat, 10.5 grams of protein, and 9 grams of carbs. So in terms of total calories and macro breakdown for these muffins, I think we're actually in a really good spot. And especially if you think about your everyday muffins that you get at the store or maybe even coffee shops, you definitely know that we're dealing with a pretty solid set of nutrition profile. And on top of that, most of the time I try to bring a point of reference, especially when we're going through the anabolics profile and taste profile of these anabolic recipes. So today we're gonna go ahead and compare this against the Starbucks pumpkin cream cheese muffin. So now you might be wondering, how does the nutrition profile of the actual pumpkin pie muffins from FDL compare against this whopping Starbucks pumpkin pie cream cheese muffin? Well, in terms of total calories, we're looking pretty good. So in terms of total calories for the Starbucks pumpkin pie cream cheese muffin, we're looking at a total of 350 total calories for this guy here. Now, in terms of grams, this is 111 grams in total weight. That's almost equivalent to 2 muffins here. And in terms of the macro breakdown, we're looking at 14 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein, and 53 grams of total carbs. So having taken a look at the total calories and the macro breakdown for these pumpkin pie muffins, I'm gonna go ahead and rate this as a solid 9. So now on to taste, guys. We're gonna have a little bit of fun with this. We're gonna go ahead and try one as is without any toppings on it, without any fillings in it. The second one we'll probably do with whipped cream on top, just to kind of get an idea of what the flavors will be like if you add anything to it and kind of give a little bit of a pep in a step in terms of flavor. Then third, we'll go ahead and add a little bit of the cinnamon vanilla. I don't know, we'll stuff the muffin somehow. So guys, I know I showed this earlier, but here's another look at the actual muffin. It's got a little bit of a firm top. Definitely in the middle is quite soft and moist. But I gotta say, one thing about this is that there's definitely some weight to these guys. So there's a good look at it from the outside, but let's go ahead and dive in and see what it looks inside. So you can definitely tell these muffins are very dense and holding moisture quite well. Let's go ahead and dive into a taste test. Cheers, boys. Not bad. So guys, in terms of taste, we're gonna go ahead and rate this as a solid 7.5. I wasn't completely blown away by the actual texture and the consistency of these muffins. Now, one of the things that I really think that might trip people up is that the moisture in these muffins is actually top notch. It's really great, but it definitely still gets a little bit of the eggy texture. I'm assuming a lot of that is coming from the egg whites, and if you guys do decide to make this, you'll probably recognize it a little bit, but it's not enough to really overpower the actual flavor and the consistency of the actual muffin. So a question that you guys might be wondering is, do these muffins actually taste like a store-bought muffin? And my answer is gonna be definitely not. You're gonna know right off the bat that this is a healthy muffin, and at the end of the day, we're all trying to just create alternatives to your actual everyday store-bought muffin, right? And with that, there's gonna be some trade-offs. But now that we know what the actual muffin tastes like, bare bones, let's go ahead and try this out with some whipped cream and some good old frosting. Everything tastes better with a little bit of whipped cream. All right, guys, cheers, boys. Now that I could get by. So for the final test, we're gonna go ahead and fill up one of these bad boys. Power bottom, guys. All right, we got a little bit of a nipple going on here. Cheers, guys. Ooh, in terms of overall taste, still sticking with the 7.5, but I would highly recommend the muffins with the actual Ready Whip. This, I think, by far was the better tasting of the three, but we can't move on to craving until we actually try this against the Starbucks muffin. It's got a cream cheese filling along with some oats and nuts around the sides and on top, but let's go ahead and dive in. So guys, right off the bat, you know this muffin is gonna taste absolutely great. It's from Starbucks, and a lot of their bakery items are definitely pretty solid. Now, in comparison to the actual protein muffins, I don't know, guys, I still stick by my number, 7.5 for taste. I do think in terms of flavor profile is pretty decent. I think it's the texture and the consistency that kind of falls short. But here's a question to my viewers. Have you guys tried this recipe with the actual protein cookie butter ingredient? And if so, how did that turn out and how did it actually help the recipe? Now, in terms of craving, if you're absolutely dying for a pumpkin flavored muffin, I would definitely recommend you guys to try this out, because at the end of the day, it really does give you a very good alternative to an actual store-bought muffin. And from a total calorie and macro breakdown, I can't say that you would ever go wrong with this. So for me, you know, trying to figure out what your priorities are they actually the taste and the consistency of it, or is it the actual nutritional breakdown? But otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and rate this as a solid 8. Well guys, we just wrapped up the 3 categories: anabolics, taste, and craving, for a score of 8.1. Now, for those of you who have actually made this recipe, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this recipe. How did it turn out for you? What would you actually do to tweak it and make it better and make it your own? So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed every ounce of pumpkin goodness this video had to offer. We'll definitely be throwing in a lot more pumpkin recipes in the next few weeks to months, just because the holidays are around the corner, and hey, who doesn't love #basic season? But otherwise, stay safe, stay swole, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.